What's the next step for Kyle Shanahan this season?
Kyle needs to adapt to 5-man in the box. Kyle needs to come to grips with himself and get rid of someone on that right side of the offensive line, and either put the person who was replacing Trent Williams.
Jalen Moore?
Yeah, put him there because he can't be any worse than those two. Eye test, those guys are a liability. Other teams are putting their best pass rushers who primarily play on that side. They're just moving over on that other side and dominating. Their other coaches are mercilessly going over on that side, stunting on that side, and they can't handle that anymore. And I think they need to just come with grips is that they underestimated two aspects. They underestimated the value of their offensive line and how bad it was. And I think they've underestimated the value of their corners.
Yeah. That offensive line, man, the right side, I don't know what they were thinking with the Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford combo. Nothing against those two.
It's not even those two, but it's the combination of those two.
How do you line them up together and think this 5th round pick and this 4th round pick and this 5th round pick are going to be a good starting tandem? Like they're nice depth pieces. But that's all you aspire to have on the right. They can't run to the right. They can't pass block on the right side of the line. They're just sort of there. They're in the way.
Briefly. They're in the way. And they're 20th in pass block win rate. They're losing the majority of the time, and they're getting bailed out because Brock can actually move up. He's got a little bit of quick step, and he's getting that stuff done. I think the other thing that Kyle needs to do is that I think everyone forgets Kyle is watching the defense play. And I think Kyle gets wrapped up in how the defense isn't dominating anymore. And I think Kyle's being too aggressive on his play calls. I think Kyle needs to realize that he has a young quarterback. He's got to put the quarterback in a place to succeed. And I think he's trusting that the quarterback's going to deliver because he can do these off-script plays and the turnovers are happening. I think Kyle's looking at his defense and he's going to be like, oh, crap, we actually have to win the game now. I think that's part of it too, that he's down there looking at this. He sees what's happening. And I think part of the issue is that Kyle needs to come to grips is that his defense may not be as good as it was. Why? And he's got to figure out why. And I think a lot of other players, former players, one thing that stuck out to me, Grant, was that the 49ers are number one in pressure rate. I have that right up here. They're number one. They're winning the majority of the time. They're getting to the quarterback, right? They're either
but their corners are playing with such a large cushion. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But it's not even that. I think people take for granted how spacing as well as where you should be and how far you should be, the linebackers as well as the corners and playing that together, they're aligned so terribly that when they do get to the player, that player has a head of steam and he's making the missed tackles. I can't tell you how many times previously years they would catch a 5-yard ball, but I would see 5 red jerseys converge on that person. That's not happening anymore.
No.
And I think that's the thing that
yards after the catch, all that. Yeah.
I think that is something that I think Richard Sherman alluded to. I think other players have alluded to it, is that they truly are not they're not, combining their pass rush as well as their coverage together. And I think because Wilkes is a coverage guy, he may be getting a little too cute.
Also, remember that really the hallmark of D'Amico's defense, it wasn't anything schematic. What would people say about D'Amico's defense? Man, he gets all 11 guys to the ball every snap. This defense is relentless in their pursuit.
Yep.
That's not this defense anymore. This defense is sleepwalking. And it's like, it seemed like with D'Amico and Saleh, those two guys sort of infused emotion and passion and energy into their players. right there in the sideline. That's what they were there to do. Like, they weren't like, what am I going to call next? Man, it's going to be cover 3. Like, you know what you're going to do. You do some very simple stuff, but you're there to infuse passion because Kyle's lost in his playbook, thinking about the most clever play you could ever imagine. Wilks isn't doing that, and I feel like this defense is missing it. This defense is really missing that element.
Wilks is doing the same thing, but he's doing it up from the booth, and it's not working, right?
At least, man.
And I think defense is so much as you want to scheme it, as much as you want to be cute. It's emotion and it's effort. Defense is all effort. And you are right. I think outside of those 2 linebackers who are killing themselves, right? And basically by the 4th quarter.
Where's the effort?
Right. Outside of that.
Where's the effort? Is it from Travarius Ward?
So I think Travarius Ward is not, quote unquote, the problem. I think Wilks doesn't know how to use him. I also think the biggest.
How do you use Travarius Ward? That's a good question. Because if you play him in zone coverage, he's going to just watch people catch the ball. And if you play him in man coverage, he's going to commit a penalty. So what do you do?
So I think Wilks has him playing so off. It's almost 7-8 yards. And I think what D'Amico did was play, and Saleh did this too with Sherman, was that they had them play 5-6 yards off. It wasn't the amount that we're seeing now, because I think the problem is that they're in between. They got to commit to that zone and live with it. And I think they're doing this thing where they're kind of like shielding themselves, but it's compounding it. They got to trust their players. The only player I do not trust on that defense is Oliver. And the stats prove that, because everyone's batting 1,000 throwing to that guy. And as much as defense is effort, there's one, what is the age saying? You can't hide slowness, and speed kills. He is the slowest person on the field. He is so slow that offensive coordinators are literally scheming him to be one-on-one, and people are 4 or 5 yards open.
He's terrible. And he can't
tackle. But to me, he's a glorified linebacker at this point.
He's not good.